For 911, but for a medical reason, it could take extra minutes, and those extra minutes could be the difference between life and death.
Yeah, right now in the KRON4 Morning News, Oakland City leaders are cutting both police and fire services to help balance their budget, raising concerns about public safety. And police across the Bay Area warning you about porch pirates this holiday season. We're live with tips on how to avoid being a target. And dense fog advisories continue this morning. We have team coverage in the Weather and Traffic Center.
Now, live from the Bay Area's local news station, this is KRON4 News at 6.
Good morning, and thanks for tuning in at 6 o'clock. I'm Daria.
And I'm James. Yeah, I've got lots to cover this morning. Let's start with the weather, though. I don't know if you saw it, but we had a lot of fog in my neighborhood this morning.
This morning feels good compared to the last couple of days. Maybe it's my bubble working. I don't know.
We can thank Daria for the bubble in a few spots for sure, but fog is out there. It's in different spots than it was yesterday, though. It's especially seen inland, which, hey, is oftentimes where we see that two-leaf fog, so it's a little bit more typical this morning, I guess you could say. Your view at SFO is much improved. Yesterday, SFO just fogged in so much for so much of the morning. We don't have any delays at our airports, so this is already a bit of an improvement from yesterday. Dense fog advisories, it's widespread coverage like it was yesterday. These advisories are definitely in effect for a while, and we do have one for San Francisco, and there is the presence of cloud cover out there, but it's actually right now sitting above bridge level, so once the sun comes up, you're going to see that gray above you, but we're not so much driving through it, which is good news. Where I'm a little bit concerned about that fog more so is going to be in areas further inland. I'm talking Solano County further inland, as well as areas like Contra Costa and inland portions of Alameda County too. These spots along 680, Highway 4, 80 as well. These areas are where we're seeing a lot of fog this morning. Again, this is your kind of typical two-leaf fog spots, but do watch for it inland. That's where the worst of your visibility is concentrated currently. 40s to 50s for our current temperatures. Oakland at 51, Petaluma and Novato at 46 degrees. As we do move into the afternoon, daytime highs will reach the 50s for foggy spots like our inland spots, while 60s for most of the rest of us. Michael?
Thanks, John. Good morning, everyone. Taking a look right now at our roads. We're not really dealing with too much fog when it comes to our bridges and really no major delays. Taking a look right now at the Bay Bridge, you can see a lot of people getting on it. We're looking at a 15-minute commute, stop and go traffic. Of course, those metering lights are on, which are actually on a little bit earlier today than they were yesterday and the day before. But taking a look right now at the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge, about a 10-minute commute over that. And then lastly, of course, we've got that Golden Gate Bridge coming in at about a 20-minute commute from Novato. The San Mateo Bridge, our cameras are still down, but it's a 13-minute commute there. Daria and James?
Thank you, Michael. 6:02. Big story this morning. The Oakland City Council voting to cut both police and fire services to help close a multi-million-dollar budget deficit.
Yeah, as you can imagine, that's raising eyebrows. KRON4's Dan Kerman reports those cutbacks will go into effect come first of the year.
Aye. Motion passes.
It's official. The city of Oakland will shut down 2 fire stations at the beginning of next year as part of an effort to close a $129 million budget gap before July 1st of next year. The city council made the decision by a 5-1 vote at its meeting Tuesday night.
We have our hands full trying to figure out which 2 stations we can, brown out for the next, foreseeable future with the least amount of impact.
Oakland's fire chief has made it clear any reduction in fire stations will slow response time to both fires and medical emergencies.
We will not let these closures impact our commitment to our citizens in any way, but there will be delays in districts that the firehouse is closed.
4 additional fire stations are slated to close by early February as part of the council's budget balancing legislation. But the council also approved Councilman Dan Kalb's amendment that if the city does receive its next $10 million payment for the sale of its half of the Coliseum, the first $7 million will go towards preventing the closure of those additional fire stations.
If you have a fire station that's closed, then getting to somebody who's calling for 911 but for a medical reason, it could take extra minutes. And those extra minutes could be the difference between life and death. And that's why that first $7 million has to go to the fire department to protect fire safety, medical response.
The budget balancing measure also calls for laying off nearly 100 city employees as early as February, and a $32 million cut to the police department budget through the cancellation of 2 police academies and massive reductions in overtime. which is currently used to make up for a lack of staffing. That went too far for Councilmember Noel Gallo, who was the lone vote against the belt-tightening measure.
We're not recognizing and promoting and proposing what the public is demanding, that is public safety to be number one.
KRON4 reached out to Oakland Police Chief Floyd Mitchell to find out how he plans to keep the city safe with less money and fewer officers to do it. He did not make himself available for an interview. Dan Kerman, KRON4 News.
Well, meantime, former Oakland City Council member Lauren Taylor is preparing to run for city mayor. In fact, he released a statement following the city council's decision to cut money for the police and fire department. So he went on X saying in part, quote, "Our city's budget deficit is dire, but if I'm elected mayor, public safety will always remain top priority. We'll never get Oakland out of this crisis unless our leaders actually pressure structural change to our city budget and revenue streams, and I'm ready to lead the effort to dig us out of this hole," end quote.
Oakland's budget cuts are also causing concern in San Francisco. District Attorney Brooke Jenkins says the cuts to the police force in Oakland could spell trouble for San Francisco.
We're talking about essential services that are dire for the Oakland community right now. And yes, there will be a spillover effect to the extent that people who are committing crimes in Oakland don't get caught. Trust and believe that they will be doing the same thing in San Francisco. Hopefully, the fact that we, are doing our best over here to maintain funding and the staffing that we have in San Francisco, that they will be caught here if they do cross over that bridge.
She goes on to say that also she's worried about what the cuts are going to mean for Oakland residents. And they're, of course, as we know, been already battling a high crime rate. A union representing Amazon workers in San Francisco has voted to authorize a strike. The Teamsters say that Amazon refuses to recognize their labor union or to negotiate with them for a contract. They want higher wages, health care, and safety of employees. A representative says thousands of Amazon workers are prepared to join the picket line. Amazon, however, says that the Teamsters do not represent Amazon employees, and they accuse the Teamsters of intentionally misleading the public. The company's spokesperson adds in this statement, quote, "The Teamsters have actively threatened, intimidated, and attempted to coerce Amazon employees and third-party drivers to join them, which is illegal."
Well, package thefts are on the rise this holiday season across the Bay Area. We see it every year.
Yeah, I've had a few myself. The police are up their patrols. They're, cruising through neighborhoods trying to stop this. KRON4's Will Tran is live in South San Francisco with what they're doing there. Will?
Well, according to South San Francisco police, they consider porch piracy one of the worst areas as far as the Bay Area, and even they say they've seen an uptick. How bad is that when they're saying it's even worse than normal? And that's why they're telling people you have to be careful. They are trying their very best to track down the porch pirates who always seem to be on patrol, especially during the holiday season. They actually released video showing people out there going up to people's porches, nonchalantly grabbing their items and leaving. Unfortunately, it is not a major crime. It's only considered a misdemeanor in California. And trust me, the porch pirates know that all too well, which is why they are so brazen. And they're asking you, according to the police department, for you to be the first line of defense. So take a look at your screen. These are some tips that we want to pass along to you during the holiday season, but they work year-round. Couple of items. You know what? One, ask for a signature, especially if it's from the post office. When somebody's sending it to you, ask that person, can you mail it, and requires that I sign for it. That way you know exactly what you're getting. Ask a neighbor if you possibly can, especially with tracking. Ask a neighbor, hey, James, my item just arrived. I know you're home. Can you come grab the item for me and I'll pick it up once I get home? Also, they have delivery boxes. Try to send your items to there. Lots going on as far as that. It is very hard for them to track down, especially if you don't have a surveillance camera in front of your house. That at least gives them something to work with. So they're also advising you, if you possibly can, install those items as well, those cameras in front of your home. Back to you.
All right. Good advice. Thank you, Will.
Time now 6:09. Now we have new police body camera footage showing an incident where San Francisco police allegedly tackled a woman to the ground and, according to her, ridiculed her. A complaint was filed with the public defender's office on Wednesday. We have the video. Want to warn you real quick before we show it. You might find it disturbing, but here is what the police body camera footage recorded.
I'm on my way to work. I'm on the phone with my coworkers, and I'm just trying to help someone.
Then we're trying to clear the street for you, then.
Well, you guys are freaking people out. Son, I'm trying to get to my office building. It's right there.
So this is video from this incident that happened back in July. That's when there were protests in the city against the U.S. involvement in the war in Gaza. We covered that live. Police were there in riot gear trying to monitor the crowds. Well, according to the report, Amelia Jones, who you see here, was a bystander who allegedly saw officers yank someone to the ground, so she yelled for them to stop. But as you can see in the video, Jones ended up being arrested herself. The report alleges that Jones was charged with battery on a police officer and resisting arrest and held in jail for 36 hours. A judge, though, reviewed this very footage you're looking at and ended up dismissing all the charges against her. The video caught the eye of the Public Defender's Integrity Unit. They're helping Jones now file a complaint.
They were just insinuating that I was doing it for attention, which is an absurd thing to say. It was validating to see the footage and kind of be like, okay, I didn't do anything and I did not deserve that.
Now, the Department of Police Accountability is now reviewing this complaint and sending any disciplinary recommendations to the Chief of Police. That process, we're told, could take anywhere from 9 months to a year to complete. Meanwhile, Jones is considering if she will file a civil lawsuit for the emotional damages that she suffered in this incident. We're going to take a break. 6:11 the time, still ahead. The state of California under a state of emergency because of bird flu. We'll explain. 6:56 is the time. Up next on the KRON4 Morning News, Amazon workers in the Bay Area and nationwide, actually, they're on strike this morning due to right as one of the busiest delivery times of the year is upon us. We'll have the latest on that. Plus, as Oakland faces a public safety crisis with having to cut police services, now another Bay Area city's concerned crime may come their way. And it's official. It's going to cost you more to cross the Bay Bridge in the coming decade. We're going to tell you by how much and when it all starts.